Okay, so it's week 5 now. Last week was really disappointing, a bit heartbreaking. Couldn't find a queen, couldn't find the eggs, any eggs whatsoever. So a bit stressed out about that. Um, it's been playing on my mind all week. I've sent a few emails, and hopefully, if I go through this inspection, I can't find the queen, can't find any eggs again. Then I should be able to borrow a frame of eggs. Fingers crossed. But fingers crossed, it works out fine and it's all good. The advice that I've been given is just to go through the brood, and when I come across um, any gaps where there's recently been hatched brood, so they've come out, check in there for eggs because that's the fresh spaces and that's where the queen will have laid. So I'm going to be checking them, searching for the queen, and also if everything's brilliant there, I'm going to sort of checkerboard some of the super frames between the top and the second super, and that means that hopefully they'll start drawing out that a bit quicker, and fingers crossed that'll be working pretty well. So yeah, let's hope this goes well.
So week 5 back at the hive. Well, I'm just sort of taking the hive about now. Got me smoker going, all good. What I'm going to do this week is, because last week was a bit upsetting. Couldn't find queen, couldn't find the eggs. Instead of going through the supers, I'm just going to go straight through the brood box because that's where the most important stuff's happening. So I'm just going down there straight away. So taking the queen excluder off, checking the underside of the queen excluder for a queen. Couldn't find her there. And I'm just going to go through this brood box frame by frame and hopefully find the queen, or at least some eggs, some larvae, some kind of sign of life. I seem to find it a bit easier to get out the second frame rather than the first one, without crushing any bees or rolling any bees. So this first frame is just pretty much all nectar. You can see that, and a tiny bit of brood in the middle, but nothing too much in there. And this frame against the wall of the hive is pretty much just honey on both sides. That's it, capped honey. No brood, no eggs in there. So I'm just taking those two out of the way. Bit of smoke. Look at the bees go down, and you can see the frames again. Go through. Get this third frame out, and what have we got? So this one is some brood again, and some capped honey up in the corners, and same on that side. See that gap? I'm looking into it at the moment. I'm turning into the sun to try and see at the bottom of it. The instructions I was given was to look in the gaps in the brood where the brood's hatched out. And I think in that gap I actually saw eggs, but I've never seen eggs before. So at this point I'm not 100% sure whether it's just me wishfully seeing eggs or hoping. And again, in here you can see a lot of broods hatched out now. The population's gone up a lot, and all of that space is there ready for the queen to lay eggs in. And I have a look in there, and I think I can see eggs in pretty much every single cell. But I'm still not 100% sure where I'm a bit of a novice. Just going through and hopefully trying to find the queen as well, just as further proof that the hive's okay. So at this point I'm feeling pretty good, pretty relieved. And then I take out this frame, and there she is. She's in here. She hasn't done a runner. She hasn't died. She's all good, bopping about, laying eggs, doing a great job. So super happy, super relieved. It's been playing on my mind all week. Just whether she's alive, whether this hive is gonna, survive or do well. I'm trying to show you in the cells because there's eggs in all of these, but I'm a bit too excited, so I'm showing myself instead of the camera. So I'm sorry about that, but I do get out a frame in a minute and try and give you guys a better look about what's going on in the hive. So I've lost her. Where is she? Yeah, there she is. She's on that side. Okay, she can go back in. Just making sure I haven't dropped her on the floor as I've walked back over to the hive. You see the bees going back down in. I love it when the smoke works like that. I'm actually starting to feel like I've got a bit more of a better understanding of how to work with the bees now. Where this is my fifth week, so it's my fifth hive inspection. I feel like I'm understanding what I'm doing a little bit more, and how to go about the hive without causing too much disruption. And yeah, like I said, work with the bees rather than against them. So pretty happy. Lots of bees on that frame. What have we got? Give them a bit of a blow. A lot of brood and a little bit of space, and pretty much in all the spaces I'm seeing eggs. So I think, yeah, she was clearly didn't have enough room, was a bit backed up, and needed to lay some eggs. And on this one there's a bit of larvae. I'm just trying to show you, but I don't do a brilliant job again showing myself more than the camera. But you can see there's some larvae in there and a bit of bee bread as well. But yeah, here we go, that's a slightly better shot. Yeah, some larvae, some bee bread, some capped brood, and then up in the top right hand corner is some capped honey, some stores for the bees. So yeah, going through bit by bit. So super happy at this point, like really chuffed. Also, on this hive, I've noticed all the way to this wall that I'm working up towards of the hive, they lay brood. And on the other side of the hive, they seem to store the nectar and the honey on those first two slides I take out. So there's space on this, space on that side. I think I give you guys a show of this frame here. Yeah, I'm going to come around now. Just have a quick look at this. So on this slide, there's lots of eggs. You can see them, they're like little grains of rice in the bottom of each cell. So they're all the way down the bottom of the cell, so we know that the queen's laid them. They're slightly hanging down, so we know they're probably 2, maybe 3 days old. And yeah, they're all good. There's not multiple eggs in one cell. If they're halfway down the cell wall, or if there's multiple eggs in one cell, they usually say that's a laying worker, where it's worker trying to do a queen's job, but she can't lay fertilized eggs though. And then on this side again, it's full of bees. It's got a lot of brood in, and I'm just going to clean up the sides as I go. But what I was saying was, like, they seem to lay brood all the way up to the edge of that frame, and on the other side of the hive, that's where they seem to store the nectar and the honey. And it's usually, from most hives that I see, it's the outer frame, so both sides of the outer frames are nectar and honey. But I was thinking, because of the way my building is shaped, the sun meets the outer side where they lay the brood first. So I'm wondering whether they actually lay their eggs on that side, because it gets a little bit warmer a little bit earlier on in the day maybe, but not too sure. But they seem to be doing it that way, and they seem to be happy about it as well. I did put the hive entrance block back in because I was worried about some wasps, and there was a European hornet buzzing about, and a couple of bees. I'm not sure if they were robbing. I don't think they were, but I thought if I put the entrance hive on, the hive block, I'm gonna help them out. So this hive was on top for the first week it was on, then it's been on the bottom, so in the middle of the things, and they're still not drawing out all that much of it. So I'm just taking out these frames now, and I'm gonna checkerboard them with the hive above, and I'm gonna put with a super above. So the super frames above had some brood in originally, so most of that brood should have hatched out by about now. So I'm gonna put the frames with the spaces in this where the brood's hatched out, so that they can store nectar in this super as well. So you can see there's the space from the brood hatching out. There's a little bit there on the left of the frame, but it's nothing too bad. It's given them lots of room. Again, lots of brood hatched out from that one, and there's a little bit of stores in there, but it's all good. What else we got? Yeah, another one. Plenty of brood hatched out from that one, and some stored honey. Just shifting these across, working out my spacings. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need 2 more frames. So we've got this one again, bit hatched out. I think I'm just showing you now what with this frame, because there's a little bee hatching out, eating its way out of the cell, in the top left hand corner of the screen. So it's just eating its way out of the cell, just hatching, and then that will become a nurse bee and start looking after the eggs that are down in the brood then. And then on this side of the frame, you can see there's actually a queen cup. This is where they make new queens from, but it's not loaded, which means it doesn't have an egg in it. So they're just playfully making it. It's not anything I need to worry about. So I just crush it to stop them using it. Basically, we've got a queen, we've got eggs. We don't need another queen, so I'm crushing it, keeping them happy. Bit of space in that one, bit more brood to hatch out, and that's 11 frames. Some people in their supers use a bit less. They use like 8 or 9 frames. The reason they do that is because the bees will draw out the honey further than the wood of the frame, and that will mean that it's easier to cut up. So just going through here, when you're extracting the honey, you can just cut straight across. So yeah, these are pretty much all capped, to be honest. They're doing a really good job with these frames. So and I'm checkerboarding these with the frames that haven't been drawn out now. So all going pretty well at the moment. And yeah, pretty much all capped on that one as well. So they've got plenty of food at the moment. They're all good. They've got plenty of resources and plenty of stores. So I'm just going to show you on these last 2 frames how much is capped. Have a look for myself. It's not the best camera angle. I'm focused a bit low. Sorry about that. But that one's pretty much all capped, and that's pretty much, it's all nectar that side and capped on the other side. So they're doing a pretty good job. And put in this last empty frame, and then I'm just going to pack the bees up and leave them for another week. Super happy, super feeling like I'm getting the hang of it a bit more. You can see the entrance reducer at the bottom there. That's just the standard one that came with the hive. There's other ones. I might get a wooden one because that one's a bit flimsy. It's polystyrene, that is. But yeah, other than that, it's all going well. Put them to bed, living the dream, having all the fun, guys. Take it easy.